What is up, YouTube? It is the Real Hayden here, back with another video. Today, we're going to be talking about what went wrong with WWE in the year 2014. Now, 2014 was actually the year that I kind of gave up on WWE, not in terms of stop watching, I watched every week, but in terms of I knew it was never going to get good again. Because for years, I'd been hoping for that same mystique from like 2009, 2010, when I was a really big fan, and it seemed like for a couple years they tried to live off that mystique that they used to have, and it just didn't work around this time. Like, I was devastated when Batista left WWE in 2010, probably more than most people. And for years I waited for him to come back, and that 4 years felt way longer to me, because I was a kid and I was, in 2010, and I was really wanting Batista to return. And in December 2013, just at the time I was really craving for WWE to go back to what it used to be, a great product. Lesnar returns on this episode of Raw. He F5s Mark Henry, and I think he says that he's going to enter the Elimination Chamber 2014 and go for the title, which he never did in that Elimination Chamber match anyway. And then they also announced in December that Batista will be returning on the January 20th, 2014 edition of Raw. I was marked out for this. I kind of wish they would have brought him out at the Rumble, but it was okay. And when Batista comes back, first thing I notice is he looks way different. At the time, I didn't know why he looked different, but looking back, he got Botox. His hair loss was in effect, but he ended up getting a hair transplant, I believe. But it was clear that he was slimmer, more out of shape. It was clear that it wasn't the Batista of old, but I still went along with it, and I thought it was cool. His first feud was with Alberto Del Rio, and at this time, Daniel Bryan was getting extremely over. And, I'm over here thinking, like, I remember in December 2013, I was looking at the WWE roster page. I was just excited. I was like, the roster looks so great. Lesnar's back. He's about to enter the world title picture. And Batista is finally coming back. It was a little too late, but I gave it one last chance. And he showed up, and instantly when he comes out and confronts Randy Orton, I feel that old school nostalgic vibe that I used to have. And he enters the Rumble, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on when the fans are just booing? They're chanting Daniel Bryan. Bryan actually had a match against Bray Wyatt at that show. They're chanting for Daniel Bryan, and immediately I'm just like, I don't understand. And then they even boo Rey Mysterio when he comes out. They're booing the shit out of Batista, even cheering Roman Reigns from the Shield to win over Batista. And all of a sudden, every week he comes out there, he's getting booed like hell because Daniel Bryan. And at the time, I'm just not understanding. I'm like, why are they booing him? They're hijacking shows. Like, I thought we was getting a great WrestleMania. I thought CM Punk was facing Triple H. I thought we were going to get The Rock versus Brock Lesnar. That's what was rumored. I thought it was going to be all kinds of crazy stuff. And it just seemed like it was going to be an amazing WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan and the Marks literally changed that whole WrestleMania card. I remember there was a lot of cool things going on. The New Age Outlaws won the tag titles in 2014. I was so excited for that. I marked out when they won the tag titles. Was it at the Royal Rumble 2014? It might have, or it could have been before or after. I don't remember. But and they successfully defended them at Elimination Chamber, and I was glad. I was like, "Yo, this is so cool, man." And then the Usos win, and I remember Booker T's marking out, and me, that's when I started disliking the Usos. I liked them in 2013, but 2014 is when I started disliking them because I thought their tag title run was very boring. That they took the belts off the New Age Outlaws, and then the New Age Outlaws have a match with Kane versus the Shield. It was just very random. The WrestleMania was watered down. Some people will say it was a great mania, but they literally changed the whole card for Daniel Bryan. And they ended up making a match with Bryan and Triple H. The winner gets inserted. I wanted to see the Evolution triple threat at the time, but he kind of ruined the whole Evolution thing. He literally changed that whole card. The card was very underwhelming for the most part compared to what I thought it was going to be. I thought WrestleMania 30 was going to be like the biggest show of all time. And it was a good show. It wasn't a bad show, but they really changed the whole course of it. Just a lot of things went wrong at this time. It seemed like the crowd was changing at this time. Like, the fans wanted to see more of like a wrestling man. They didn't really care about these big guys that Vince used to bring in. You know what I'm saying? And they treated Batista wrong. Even when he came back in 2019, he was more over than his 2014 run. And he came back for a solid 5 month run. I remember they were teasing Lesnar versus Batista on Raw, and I was so pissed when they decided not to do it. I thought that was stupid. And Lesnar was supposed to enter the Elimination Chamber, he said, in December 2013, but he didn't. And it just seemed like, Punk leaves. It just seems like everything fell apart right before WrestleMania 30. Like I didn't get to see the big matches I wanted to see. Cena and Bray Wyatt, I wasn't really interested to see that. There were so many routes. They could have done Cena versus Taker at WrestleMania 30, Rock versus Brock, but Rock had that injury from WrestleMania 29 the year prior. But it seemed like everything just kind of fell apart in 2014. I think they thought they were just going to bring Batista back and he was going to get cheered. That's what I thought was going to happen. I was a kid at the time, and that's what I thought was going to happen. But I was one of the few people who just did not like Daniel Bryan at that time, and I respect Daniel Bryan. I like his heel work from like 2011, 2012. And I liked his Team Hell No run, but I did not like when he started hijacking the shows. And to think of it, they changed the whole WrestleMania 30 card, and they changed everything just for so Daniel Bryan can have like a 1 to 2 month title reign, and then he gets injured, comes back in 2015, gets injured again, then retires, comes back 2018, leaves 2021. I don't know if it was all worth it in the end, but I was really excited to see that WrestleMania 30 card. I don't know about y'all, like I was really, 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 really looking forward to seeing it, and they just changed the whole thing last minute. But it was pretty devastating, honestly, because I really wanted to see WrestleMania that year. I wanted to see Punk and Triple H, and it was also rumored that they could have done Punk and Kane because they had a weird feud in 2014. But Punk's last appearance, ended up being the Royal Rumble, and there were some good debuts in 2014. You had Adam Rose, Rusev. I'm trying to think of some more. There was a few, but yeah, I thought it was still a pretty good year. It wasn't a bad year by any means, but I thought we were like it was something was changing at this time in WWE, and definitely was, but not in the direction that I thought. But that little kid version of me was so glad to see Batista back, but his run just didn't go the way I wanted, and he was supposed to actually wrestle to like SummerSlam or even win the world title. And the marks kind of just ran him away. They were booing him. They were calling him Blue Tisa. They just did not want to see him. I don't know why. I did not expect that type of nuclear heat when Batista returned. I thought he was just going to get cheered. But at this time, we really needed stars to spice up the roster, and it really felt like a big deal when they brought Batista back. He was 45 at the time when they brought him back. He's currently like 57 now, but he still did all right. I mean, the Evolution thing I did mark out for that back in the day. I thought that was great. Rob Van Dam returned in 2014. He had a run in 2013 also. Christian ended up retiring in 2014. So a lot of wrestlers had a down year too, Del Rio and stuff. But a lot went wrong in WWE in 2014. Like Daniel Bryan gets injured right after he wins the world title. Like it just seemed like so much was going wrong, and they were trying to push a lot of new guys. And SummerSlam Lesnar wins, and I just remember being so bored after Lesnar won because he just didn't show up on the shows. I don't even think he showed up at all on the Build to Night of Champions, but like one show, and then he just like disappears until the Royal Rumble is all. No, I think he was there in December. He had like a match with or a segment with Jericho, but yeah, I just thought Lesnar's title run was boring up until WrestleMania 31 when he fought Reigns. But yeah, the marks really did. These new fans, they took away Batista's whole run in 2014, and I was just so pissed at this time. I was so bitter. I'm still pissed about it to this day. And I remember Daniel Bryan did the same thing in 2021. I wanted to see a match, me and my cousin, between Edge and Roman Reigns. And Daniel Bryan cries his way into that match, and I got pissed off. And me and my cousin were rooting against Daniel Bryan. And he did lose. That was 2021. But and I remember Daniel Bryan, his first title defense was against Kane. That was a pretty good match. I think it was an Extreme Rules, and they even had a flaming table spot in 2014. But it seemed like 2014 was one of the, they tried to keep the magic of like 2010. I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like 2010 and shit and 9 was a bad year in WWE like most people love doing for whatever reason. I think a lot of good, happened those years. And yeah, it's just kind of pathetic that they don't get the respect that they deserve. But yeah, 2014 was a very strange year. A lot of wrestlers had a weird year that year. The Shield split up that year. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose all went their separate ways. There was a lot of times around that 2014 time I thought that we were getting a TV 14 product, because back then I always thought that the PG thing was what was holding it back until you end up realizing that wasn't the case. But I remember I hated 2015, but I was not a fan of Bray Wyatt in 2014 at all. I hated the feud with Cena, and they did that weird thing where they acted like Cena was going to turn heel for a minute. I don't see anyone talk about that. I think it was around like Extreme Rules 2014 or something when Cena and Wyatt had a steel cage match. It was like the Raw after that or something. But yeah, I just think Bray Wyatt was, I don't know. And then he came back at Hell in a Cell and kind of killed the feud with Rollins and Ambrose, and it just really pissed me off because I thought Ambrose had a lot of momentum after the Shield split, and they just killed it. But I could talk all day. I'll do a yearly pay per view rewind of 2014 and all the other years. You know what I'm saying? But it seems like 2014 they still tried to have that 2010 agenda, but at the same time the crowd was changing. You know what I'm saying? NXT Black and Gold was in effect. The crowd was just changing at this time, but they were still trying to push that 2010 agenda, and it just didn't seem to work in 2014. You had Punk walk out, one of your top guys, that really hurt the WrestleMania a lot that year. I thought Punk was adding a lot to the shows on the build up. He was wrestling a lot, wrestling the Shield members, the New Age Outlaws. He was wrestling a lot. They had a little feud with Kane, which was weird, I thought at the time. But Punk ends up walking out, gets fired around June, and yeah, it sucks that that's the way that his run ended up. But a lot of things just seemed to go wrong in 2014. I don't know what it is. Like they were trying to push some wrestlers and it just didn't work. But it was still a pretty good year for what it was. You know what I'm saying? A lot of good came out of that year in 2014 and stuff. They had another Cena and Orton feud that year. I thought Orton's world title run was very stale at the time. Like a lot of people look back and remember it as a very great title reign. At the time, I was a huge Orton fan, but I thought it was stale. I marked out when he turned heel at SummerSlam 2013, but it just didn't go the direction I thought it would because I just wasn't. I didn't like the whole Daniel Bryan stuff. I never did. They started it as SummerSlam 2013 build up when they announced he was going to be facing Cena, and I just never bought it. Like I liked Daniel Bryan, but not in that role. Some people might disagree. I was one of the ones who was very frustrated with the way that the Batista was getting treated when he came back and stuff. I just thought it was bullshit. I thought he added a lot to the product, and it just sucks we didn't get everything we could have got out of it. Batista even appeared on NXT also. Not a lot of people talk about that in June of 2014. But that was ultimately Batista's last true run. He came back in 2019, though, but just for one match. But yeah, it just seemed like a lot went wrong in the year 2014 with that. And the Divas division was very weak that year. AJ Lee was on top, and Paige, comes out after WrestleMania. But I just think WrestleMania 30 had a very disappointing outcome. I just really thought it was going to be a bigger show. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like the video, comment, subscribe. We're climbing up on watch hours, and I appreciate anyone who's tuning in to help me out. Thank you guys so much. Peace.